Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Gonna be going over our tank tier list today. We are finally to the point where we're getting some good feedback. Some of the high keys are starting to be pushed. Everybody's kind of getting into their groove, kind of solidifying their groups. Um, so talk about each individual tank, kind of where they sit, how they're doing. Um, Specifically going to look at who's pushing the highest of keys, who's doing okay. I will go ahead and premise this by saying these are for higher keys, like your 12s to 15s, early on pushing. Right now, if you're running anything probably below a 10, it really doesn't matter what tank you're going to run with. They're all capable of accomplishing those goals. Just make sure that you are geared correctly. Make sure you have your stat alignments, all of the things that you need. Now, I have been playing all of the tanks this season. I have tested every single one of them. But I am going to leave my bias out because some of them just do not feel good to play right now. And that does make it a little bit harder to keep up. But at the same time, all in all, we'll cover the tier list and then go from there. All right, so explain our tier list. S is going to be like the best of the best. You can push with this tank. You can definitely get away with going and doing what you need to do. A is going to be they're good. They're doing all right. They'll get things done. But you need to be a little bit more careful before you start pushing, but you are capable of pushing. B tier is going to be a good tank for everyday use. You're not really going to push on this tank. You're not really going to go far on this tank. You just kind of want to get your weekly volts, have fun doing it, play some keys, do some dells, like whatever it is that you want to do, you'll be chilling with it. C tier is going to be our probably not going to be doing very much, overgear for your content, be smart about how you do things. And then D tier is going to be our unplayable tanks. All right, I will go ahead and say there are no D tier tanks. All right, all of these tanks are playable. All of these tanks are able to be pushed. All right, last thing before we jump into it, the left and right does not mean anything. So just because one tank is farther up than the other does not mean that they are better or worse. It's just where they fall. All right, so let's kick it off. We got our Blood DK. Okay, so Blood DK is actually going to go in the C tier. They're very, very close to being in D tier, but they're actually being saved by the Raid right now. Raid, they are doing very, very well in Raid as they normally do in the tiers. But if you're looking at a Mythic Plus, not that great. They lost They lost a lot of utility. They lost a lot of like what makes them solid. They were very well known for their grips, being able to keep enemies positioned where they wanted to, doing that damage, healing damage back. And we got a lot of changes coming into season 3. None of them took us in the right direction. We still have all of the exact same problems that we've had in previous seasons and previous tiers. And now we also have new problems that have been added onto it. I don't care what anybody says, Death Grip is not a raid buff, and it is not something that you are going to bring in your keys. And if you are going to bring it in your key, like for Floodgate or maybe even Arakara, you're going to take a Frost Death Knight. You're going to take an Unholy Death Knight. The last thing you want to deal with right now is a Blood DK. They are incredibly difficult to stay alive. Their survivability is not there. The healing is just not there. The grips are not there. Like they are just in a horrible, horrible spot. And Blizzard, please fix this. All right, go in, fix the problems, find the solutions, fix the problems. We've been telling you for months and months and months. Blood DK is just not it. However, they are still playable. All right, Raid, it's a great tank to bring in the Raid. It's also going to get you through your 2s and 3s right now if you have the gear. I think they are pushing some higher keys. They're hitting that 3K, so like they're doing okay, but you're probably running in a coordinated group. You're probably doing all the right things. You're probably having to do that perfect gameplay just to keep up. Excuse me. All right. I apologize. I am going to post this video. I'm not actually going to edit it. You guys are getting the raw film. I meant to do this on stream before I cancel or before I ended tonight. I forgot, but it is unfortunately getting close to that bedtime, so I'm not going to do much editing tonight. But future tier lists, I will make sure that I edit and get everything taken care of. All right. So next up is going to be Brewmaster. So Brewmaster is actually going to go in the A tier. I don't see a world where you push on a Brewmaster right now. I definitely think it's possible, and I definitely think you can. But I think that if you're going to run a Brewmaster, then you are already geared from last season. You're either at max item level or very close to max item level from season two. You're in a coordinated group. You're lining up your comp to be perfect. You are running with groups that are just made to be. And I think that is why there are groups pushing on Brewmaster. But I think in and of itself, Brew is just not a good enough tank for you to start pushing on. All right, maybe I am gonna have to do some editing on this. Probably not. I'm probably just gonna post this as is. I don't know. We'll find out. But anyway, so Brewmaster, it's a good tank. You've got the survivability. You're able to kind of push outside that key range. I've been playing Brewmaster. My Brewmaster is significantly under geared, but I have still been able to push into those twos. The problem I'm running into is I cannot make the same pulls that I am on some of these other tanks without either falling over or without my healer just absolutely blasting healing into me, playing that perfect gameplay. It's a lot of work, and I don't think the average player is going to be able to do that. But they are still a very good tank. So if you do have the stars aligned and if everything is working for you, by all means, knock out that Brewmaster monk. All right. Uh, Next up we got Vengeance. Vengeance is gonna go back in the S tier. They're just phenomenal. I mean, the usage you're getting out of Sigil of Chains and Sigil of Silence, the self sustainability, the survivability, the kiting ability that you have, everything that Vengeance does, it is just a phenomenal tank, and it is doing some crazy damage. All right. I've noticed on a lot of my tanks, I'm kind of struggling on the damage meters. I'm not really keeping up as well as I would like to. But when I'm jumping off Vengeance, I'm doing insane damage. And a lot of that is just doing a lot to help us. I am actually able to make some insane pulls on my Vengeance that I cannot make on any other tank that I've got. So that is it's just amazing. It's a lot of fun to play. It's very enjoyable. Definitely one of the best all-rounded tanks this season. Yeah, if you guys can't tell at the time of recording this, it's like almost 9 o'clock, and I have been up since early this morning. So yeah, I'm pretty tired. This is one of the reasons why I'm not going to edit tonight. But anyways, moving on to Druid. So I'm actually going to put Druid into a B tier. I think they're good tanks. I think they're bringing a lot to your groups, and I think that they're definitely helping you out. Um, but I am going to say their damage, it's just not there. The threat is doing really well. They have a lot of self sustain, but that damage grouping, even kiting, I was having a lot of issues in Arakara, or not Arakara, in what's that place called? Halls of Atonement. I was really struggling. We missed an interrupt on a cast, and our the bears got enraged, and I was just really struggling to kite those bears around and not take all of that damage. I had to pretty much like stack every single one of my cooldowns just to survive. It was incredibly difficult, and that is painful. I've noticed that the damage in is very spiky. Some hits were hitting me, and I was barely taking any damage. And then at the same time, like, I would just take melee hits, and I was just getting cleaved down so fast, and it was it was just not going great. Um, and even with the uptime on your Iron Bark and Frenzied Regeneration, it just feels like it's not enough. So I don't think you're going to push with a Guardian Druid. I don't think you're going to be topping those keys. And I think you're just going to be running like your weeklies, what you're geared for. Your group isn't really going to matter as much, but just you're kind of going to sit there and do your weeklies and be good. I think that once we're fully geared, it is a very good potential that Guardian Druid will be able to push some higher keys, but I don't think they're going to be topping the keys this season. All right. Next up is going to be Protection Paladin. So Prop Paladin, I'm gonna put it in B tier for a lot of the same reasons as Druid. Their damage is very spiky. You don't have very good uptime on your defensives. Um, the damage output is just bad. At the end of the day, when it comes down to it, Prop Paladin is very good because it has very good utility. It has very good playability, and it's a very simple rotation. Um, but your defensives are difficult to time if you don't know what you're doing. The damage incoming is very spiky, and that makes it hard to know when to pop your defensives. The damage that you're doing is just pathetic. It's just not a great tank right now. I think it's doing okay in raid. It's doing what it needs to do, but it's just there are so many classes that are just better that I think that all you're really gonna get out of running a prop paladin is a weekly key. And I think even then you need a coordinated group, you need coordinated cooldowns, you need things to be a little bit more coordinated than probably what you're gonna see with your everyday key. All right. And last but not least, we have my main for the season, the protection warrior. So honestly and truly, I feel like Prot Warrior could probably slide into the S tier. Um, yeah, I think we'll put it in the S tier. So Prot Warrior has a lot going for it right now. You're definitely able to survive a lot of different things. You've got a toolkit that does really, really well. You've got raid is just absolutely insane. You're doing insane damage. You have very controlled intake and output of damage. You've got a cooldown at this point in time. We have a cooldown for just about anything. We're able to react or be you can be proactive or reactive with your defensives. I play a much more proactive build than I do reactive, but I also keep those onesie twosies in reserve to be able to keep up. Now, with that being said, Prop Warrior does have some disadvantages. You can become very healer reliant. You can become very oh shit, I need you to save me right now. And I think that is an issue, but I think that those circumstances are not your normal. If you're making big pulls, if you're setting up a big pull, you're gonna be fine. I think that a lot of the oh shit moments come when we're not ready for a big pull and it turns into a big pull. There are situations about kiting that make it kind of difficult. Um, if heroic leap is on cooldown, you're probably not going to kite. You're just going to have to eat that damage and hope for the best. But I think in general, like you can definitely push on a prot warrior with their what with how they're set up right now, you can push on them. You could run weekly keys. You can run low keys. You could probably end up. I think we're at a point in the season where you could easily carry low keys right now, and I think that that is just such an amazing place to be. And I think that in general, Prot Warrior is probably one of the best looking tanks right now. I think Vengeance is definitely in a rivalry to see like what is actually going to be better. The threat generation on Prot Warrior is a little bit better, but Prot Warrior doesn't have any way to group mobs. Vengeance definitely has that. They both have like a mass interrupt that they can get. Sigil of Silence is slightly better just because it does last for a couple extra seconds versus your shout that you would interrupt with. So I think there you could probably put Prot Warrior and Vengeance Demon Hunter side by side, and where Vengeance is excelling, Protection Warriors is gonna excel in another way. And I think that where Vengeance is struggling, Prod is excelling. Where Vengeance is excelling, Prod is struggling. And I think that you would be very hard pressed to compare them and see which one is actually doing better. Um, the other advantage is with a prop warrior, you have the ability to play both ranged and melee comps and be okay. Vengeance, you can play ranged and melee comps and be okay. Brew is definitely going to be geared more towards melee comp. So I think that between the three, I think what really gives Prot the edge over Brew is your ability to play with multiple different comps and still do well, whereas Brew is going to excel with a melee comp only. You can definitely play with a magic comp, but you're not going to do as well, and neither Brew nor Prod is going to do as well as Vengeance will with a magic comp. So I think really what's just setting everything apart right now is definitely the playstyle and where you do and don't excel. I think that in reality, we could very easily move Prot and Vengeance down to A tier and have no S tier tank. I think we could also move Brew up a tier and it would be okay too. I don't think there's really a wrong answer when it comes to how these are set up. And actually, now that I see, I think this is actually a much better option because if you look at Prot, oh, pretty much the only thing they're bringing is utility. They're not bringing damage. They're not bringing cooldowns. They've got a battle res, but so does Druid. And you're not bringing Druid. I think honestly, I think this is a much better way. And I know I said at the beginning of the video, no D tier tanks, but I also think we could move all of these down a tier. And I think that this would also be very well because Brew is going to be your melee comp meta tank. Prot is going to be your just your melee meta comp. I also think that they would do really well if it wasn't a meta comp. So I think they could play either. And I think that Vengeance is going to be your meta melee tank or your meta range tank, excuse me. So I think that these three tanks right now, I'm going to say are very easily interchangeable and they could very easily be um different based off of or excuse me, not different. They could be interchanged based off of what key you're doing, what are you trying to do, and what is your comp going to look like. So I really think that this is a better way to end the comp right now. I don't think that as it stands right now, I don't think that we have one tank that is just exceedingly better than the rest. I think all three of these tanks are capable of pushing, doing weeklies, and running low keys. I think that Druid and Prot are definitely going to be your gear for what you need to do and do it. And then Death Knight, I just don't think I think we have too many problems right now to be pushing keys, to be trying to do a whole bunch of craziness. I think that until Death Knight just needs a massive, massive, massive rework to how it plays, the way it plays, and just in general. I think that there are definitely ways you can excel at any of these six tanks. Definitely think that you can if you're in an organized group. If you're running what you guys can and you're not really trying to do anything too crazy. I think that all six tanks are playable this season, but I think this is where we're going to end up sitting as it stands right now. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, I apologize for the yawns and everything. It is late for me. It is past my bedtime, but hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Later.